coming out 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General YAHANNA. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and the Indigenous or Native Indians our true identity according to the Bible, which is the 12 tribes of Israel, or the Lord's chosen people. And of course, our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Today is the Monday night history class. And we're going to be going over something that is pretty basic in the UPK. It's something that every officer will learn for starting off their precept books. It's something that's on their officer's test. We're going to be going over color in the scriptures. Because a lot of our people believe that the Bible is our oppressor's book. And due to the horrendous acts it is that we have suffered at the hands of Christianity, our people believe this. You understand? The lies it is that the Christian pastor in America tells us about these scriptures, when in reality, this book right here is only about Blacks, Hispanics, and the Indigenous. You understand? We're the main characters, you could say, in this book. You understand? We're the heroes that everybody is rooting for, if you're Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous, of course, because our oppressor only wants our downfall, as well as these heathen nations. So we're going to go ahead and start out in the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 25. So just to show our people that this book right here is not about our oppressor. Give you a minute to get there. Make sure you like and share the class. If you got any questions, ask them. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 25. It's saying, just to give a backstory on the scripture right here. It's saying this is talking about the birth of Jacob and Esau. You know, saying Jacob being the chosen seed of the Lord, and Esau being, the villain it is, and nobody is rooting for. You understand? The one it is that everybody wants to perish and fall due to his horrendous crimes that he's committed against the children of Israel. Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red. And this right here is the birth of our oppressor. You understand? Because our oppressor likes to say that he is white. When in reality he's red. He's a pink color. Because his blood shows forth through his skin. White is like these ancient scrolls it is that we have up here on this teacher's podium. White is like the piece of paper it is you're taking notes on right now. All over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. Esau, he was a very hairy man, just like our oppressor is today. Not only are we going to be going over color, but we're also going to be going over characteristics of the children of Israel. And this right here is our characteristics of Esau, or our oppressor. So anytime you hear a brother talking about Esau or Edom in any class across this earth, that is taught by the Isupk, we're talking about our oppressor, or the so-called white man. It's lucky. Then we're going to skip to Romans 9 and 13. So this is all just to show that this book does not belong to our oppressor. You see, because after we go through these couple of scriptures, we're gonna show what the people look like and their characteristics would be till this day. So I'll give you a second to get there. says Romans 9:13. As it is written, saying it's written in the Old Testament. So we can pull that scripture as well if anybody would like. And saying right now we're in the New Testament. That's why it says, as it is written. A lot of our people that are Christian like to say that the Old Testament is done away with and that it's all about, what's in the New Testament. You understand, the apostles and Christ. And for some reason, John the Baptist, who didn't even follow Christ. Jacob have I loved. So Jacob, that's the forefather of so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Indigenous, or the 12 tribes of Israel in these scriptures. And so the Lord's letting us know that he loved our forefather Jacob. You understand? And naturally, if you love the father of a people, or you love the father of a child in general, you're gonna love that child as well. You understand? I love, my brothers in this school. I love Captain Kapash, and therefore I love Kapash Ya'ala and Kapash Gabar. You understand? I love Officer of 5,000, the Pataza Alaban, and therefore I love, his son Dominic and his daughter. You understand? I love Officer of 1,000, Isa Arya. Therefore I love Shanya. You understand? That's my nephew right there. And any of us can relate. We take that same concept when we are in the world. You understand, the people it is that we're the closest to, we look at their children like they're our own. You understand, we'll protect them with our lives and get them whatever it is that they need in order for them to be good out here. You understand, the Lord feels the same way about Jacob's children. You understand, the 12 tribes of Israel. And that's why we're called the 12 tribes of Israel. You understand, because Jacob's name was changed to Israel. It's showing just how important it is that we are as a people. But Esau have I hated. You understand? The Lord, he hates our oppressor. You understand? Hates our oppressor's forefather, and therefore hates his children. And we're about to get into why it is that the Lord hates Esau. Because it's not just for some, blind reason or unjust reason. It's not because his skin color is pink or red. It's saying there's a specific reason that the Lord hates our oppressor. You understand? And hates his children. I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6. Oh, wait, Slack. Yeah, Slack. Isaiah 47, 6. Slack. You understand? Because the Lord doesn't just blindly hate. You understand? He's shown mercy upon, the nations that have shown mercy upon his chosen people. You understand? The 12 tribes of Israel. And he's also exacted vengeance upon the nations who have oppressed and destroyed his people. So we just got to start looking at all these other nations through the eyes of the Lord. So it'd make our lives a lot simpler. It'd save us a lot of heartache and confusion amongst our people. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 47 and verse 6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. You understand? And this is the Lord going into why it is that he hates Esau so much. And saying, because at one point the Lord, he was angry with his people. because we decided to turn our back on him and be Christians. You know what I'm saying? Because we decided to, be Muslims or be Buddhists or African spiritualists. We decided to eat pork and get high and make whores out of sisters and, be homosexuals and all this other kind of nonsense. You understand? We went down that path. And because of that, we had the anger of the Lord against us as a nation. And because of our acts against the Lord and not keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments as he commanded us to so long ago, he gave us into the hand of our enemies. And that's happened to our people countless times. We've been under captivity of the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Greeks, the Persians, all these different nations. It's like the Moabites, the Ammonites, and of course the Hamites, all these different nations we've been under captivity under. So what makes what makes this, now why does the Lord hate our oppressor to this if we've been under so many captivities? Thou didst shew them no mercy. Because our oppressor, he has never shown our people any kind of mercy. And it didn't matter what empire it is that we were under when our oppressor was ruling. He was always just the most ruthless and bloodthirsty, heathen that has ever had us, in shackles. You can go look at, what it is that he did to our people, when he was known as the Greeks, during the Greek Empire. You can look in the book of Maccabees and see all the horrendous things it is that these devils did to our nation. I mean, it was, flaying people alive. It was cutting off hands and feet, cutting out tongues, boiling people alive. Whole families, which you can go look at that in the book of Maccabees. Like that's the kind of horrendous things it is that we faced at the hands of our oppressor back then. And even till this day, like our oppressor just doesn't give a damn about us as a people. He doesn't show us any kind of mercy. He's made sure that we are the absolute poorest in this disgusting country. And yet, because we're the poorest, we also got to pay for it. There were countless brothers and sisters who have been, thrown out of their homes over the past couple months, which Commanding General YAHANNA reported on in his Black Watch radio show. Which, if you haven't yet, check out Black Watch. It's the main news for all Blacks, Hispanics, and Indigenous. Let you know what's going on in the world today and how it is that we can, further prepare ourselves as a nation to separate from America. But that's the type of things that was going on, over the past couple of months, is brothers and sisters being evicted because they can't get jobs or because they don't make enough income in order to support themselves. Getting thrown out into the cold and left to really freeze and die with their children. Meanwhile, there's devils that are getting all kinds of breaks and financial support and are able to get extensions on when they have to have their bills paid, all because they aren't us. You understand? Because they aren't the Lord's chosen people. Because the heathens are getting the same thing as well. You understand? Every single nation except for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are, getting some kind of break. You understand? These other nations, they aren't suffering as we suffer as a people. And that's something that we can see every day. We just gotta realize it and stop thinking that because we're a minority that's why this is happening to us. You understand? It's happening to us because our oppressor is just the devil. No matter how kind they are to our people, or if they got them a brother or sister as a wife or a husband, it's like you understand, a devil is a devil. It's like you. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. So I can drop that. We're going to go to Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 10. So we just learned about why it is that the Lord hates our oppressor. He said, therefore, ruling him out as being, you understand, the 12 tribes of Israel, or the Israelites in these scriptures. I'm saying because if Israel is pink like the Jewish man, then there would have been no reason to take record of how it is that Esau looked. Saying that we're about to get into why it is that our people don't understand these scriptures right here, and how it is that we don't know that not only were the priests and prophets, you understand, blacks, Hispanics, and indigenous, not only was the whole nation of Israel, you understand, people of color, as you could say, or blacks, Hispanics, and indigenous, but the Most High God is a black man. You understand, Christ, the same one that the Christian church portrays as being some Roman devil, you know, saying is really a black man, which is in these scriptures right here. So it's Isaiah chapter 29, verse 10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep. You understand? So the Lord made it so that we don't have any understanding as a people. You understand? Like you can just mention this book right here. And like we brought out earlier in the class, in the beginning, our people will always say that this is a white man's book. You understand? This book belongs to our oppressor. When in reality, like Christianity is something that is completely separate from the Bible. And saying we teach all day how it is that the holidays that Christianity promotes and celebrates, it's not in the Bible. You understand? And the way of life that Christianity promotes, it's not in these scriptures. And saying the Lord told us to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Christ did as well, but yet the Christian church, they tell our people that the law is done away with. You understand? As long as you get dunked in that water, you're good to go. Well, that's simply not the case. You understand? There is no understanding of these scriptures within our nation unless you come into the Isupk. You understand? The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General YAHANNA. And hath closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, the seers hath he covered. It's in all these, the prophets, you understand, the prophets, that's supposed to be the so-called Christian pastors. That's who our people view as prophets today. But yet they have no understanding of this book right here. And so that's why it is they have to go to our oppressors' schools in order to try to get just an inkling of what these scriptures are really about. When even then, the studies it is that they learn is to the eyes of a devil. And a devil could never understand a black man's book, a Hispanic man's book, or a Native Indian man's book. The only one that can understand these scriptures right here is our people. And that's just like all the studies it is that our oppressor has done on like our people trying to figure out, like trying to figure out how it is that we, speak and move as a people. So there have been countless studies of devils, looking into, our lingo and just the different slang it is that we have as a nation, and trying to figure out what it is that we're saying. You know what I'm saying? But all that is for nothing. It's the same thing with these scriptures. You understand? Just like any brother in the, in any ghetto would speak with slang and different lingo and just putting flavor on his words, it's the same thing that's in these scriptures right here. You understand? We can't go to no oppressor in order to learn our scriptures, our heritage, and our history. And your rulers, understand, and the rulers of this nation as well, they don't understand, these scriptures either. And all these people who are supposed to be so powerful and have all this wisdom and knowledge and are prominent names within our communities, even they don't understand the true meaning of what's in this book right here. Understand? All of them look at it through Christian eyes. Understand? They all look at it through, God loves everybody, and Santa Claus is going to be coming down your chimney December 25th, and an Easter bunny is going to lay an egg to bring peace and prosperity to the land. That's how it is that they view these scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta start coming out of these really teachings of America, but predominantly these Christian churches. You know what I'm saying? Because they're the ones that really push this false doctrine of the scriptures. Verse 11, and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. And all the visions that have been written down in these scriptures from all the mighty priests and prophets, understand, from Genesis all the way to Revelations, understand, it's not something that is known to us. Understand, it's something that is sealed away. That's why so many of our people don't know of the different prophecies in this book. Understand, our people don't know that Martin Luther King was prophesied in these scriptures. You understand, we don't know that World War I, II, and soon to come 3 is prophesied in these scriptures. That's why our people must get into the Israelite school of universal practical knowledge if we want to truly get the understanding, but as well as get our nation out of this hell it is that we've been living in for so long. Saying, because without this book being unsealed, we're gonna just continue to deteriorate further and further as a people. Which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. Saying our people go to so-called learned men every day. It's in every hour of the day in order to get, the true meaning of these scriptures. But it's just something that's never going to happen. And you go to your Christian pastor and you ask him questions about these scriptures. You ask him questions about Romans 9 and 13. And he's not going to be able to tell you anything. Even with all that schooling it is that he went through, and all of the years of service that he's provided, supposedly provided to the community, and all the marriage counseling and just counseling in general for our people that they've given, like they aren't able to truly break down these scriptures and understand what it is that they're saying. So we're going to go to Daniel 7 and 9. You know what I'm saying? And if COVID-19 didn't show our people that the Christian church can't do anything for us, you know what I'm saying, then the Lord, he's just going to have to bring a much more devastating plague upon this earth in order to make our people realize that the Christian church not only doesn't have the proper understanding of these scriptures, but they also don't give a damn about us as a people. Saying, because if they really understood what was in this book right here, you know, they wouldn't be trying to steal $14 million from the people. You're saying they wouldn't be, you know, paying out millions of dollars to hush families, you know, saying whose children it is that they've molested. You know, saying there wouldn't be viral videos of pastors stealing, you know, $20,000+ from someone's grandmother, never to see it again. Like that wouldn't be going on. You know, saying, because these scriptures tell you how it is you're supposed to be taking care of your nation and how it is that you can build a stronger bond amongst your people. Give me a second to get there. Daniel 7 and 9. Say now that we've learned that this book is not for our oppressor, or really not his book given to us, you understand? And now that we've learned why it is that we don't understand these scriptures, you understand, we're going to get into some of the color scriptures. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. It says, let's talk about the Most High God of Israel, the Most High Power. He said, sitting on his throne. It's in the Ancient of Days. That's just another title for the Lord. It's no different from, you know, the Most High Power, Most High God, the Most High God, Lord. It's like the Lord. You know, these are all just different titles it is that the Lord has, which also goes to show that, you know, God isn't the Lord's name. You understand? Whose garment was white as snow. You understand? The Lord, he had on a garment as white as snow. You understand? You can go look at any camp speaking, you understand, throughout the United States, you understand, Europe, South America, that is by the Isupk, and you'll see brothers wearing garments, you understand, in all of these speakings. You'll see us wearing our traditional Israelite attire during Sabbath services, understand that, so you get an idea of what it is that our garment looks like, understand. But the Lord, he has on a white garment. It's like he has on a garment that was white as snow. You know, saying, letting you know that the Lord, you know, he's fresh out here. You know, saying, brothers think nowadays when they put on their all white fits, you understand, they white shoes, they think that they're the freshest brothers in this earth. You know, saying, in all the galaxy, when in reality the Lord is the freshest of them all. And this also shows, you understand, that the Isupk doesn't hate the color white. Because a lot of Christians, you understand, devils and Israelite groups will say that we just hate white. You understand, when the Lord, he was wearing the freshest, whitest garment that there ever was and will ever be. And the hair of his head like the pure wool. You understand? And he has woolly hair. But yet you go look in, what is that building called? Salakia. And saying, but if you look up all the art of the Lord, it'll always be some devil with stringy dog hair. So I'm trying to figure out what the art piece is called. But if you look up, it's a famous art piece. It's like God and I think Christ, where they're touching fingers, you understand, both of them half naked in the clouds. It depicts the Lord as being, our oppressor. You understand, a man with a white beard and white hair, white long dog hair. When the scripture just said, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. You understand, which lets you know that he had woolly hair. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. And so the Lord's his throne, it was just really bright, and his wheels as burning fire. That's talking about the chariots of the Lord. It's anytime it is you look up a photo of a UFO, or what we call an IFO, the Lord's chariot, and ISUPK, and you'll see those lights spinning around on the bottom of it. And so that's why it says his wheels as burning fire. I'm going to drop that, go to Revelations 1:13. Give you one more second to get there. So the book of Revelations, chapter 1 and verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot. Since we're about to get into the description of Yahawashi, or who the world or earth knows as Jesus Christ. And we're about to really debunk that false image it is that they portray in the Christian church, or in the Catholic church if you're Hispanic. And what we're gonna discover is that it's all been just one big lie that has been covered up throughout history. Clothed with a garment down to the foot. So just like before when we were talking about garments, which if you watch Sabbath service this Saturday, or if you review any Sabbath services for any of our schools, them garments it is you see brothers wearing, Christ had on something that was similar, one that was all the way down to his foot. And girt about the paps with a golden girdle. And Christ had a golden war belt on, which not only shows you that Christ wasn't, some lovey-dovey pacifist like the Christian church has told us, just looking to, just be a sissy, really. You understand? Because a war belt, you're saying you only wear that if you think you're about to be getting into some things. So you think that there's a chance that someone's going to pull a blade on you to try to slice open your stomach. You understand? That's the only time you wear a war belt, because not everybody wore a war belt back then. You're saying, and not only does it show that Christ was a man of war, but it also shows that he wasn't, some poor beggar. You understand? He didn't just mooch off people. You understand? His war belt was made of gold. And I mean, the brothers who have had, legitimate leather war belts made, like, and how expensive it is, those are, you can only imagine how much this thing right here costs. You understand? The resources that we're putting into it, period, with it being made of gold, it's just ridiculous. Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. So right here is giving you a texture of Christ's hair and the color. He's saying which the texture is a wool texture and the color is white. Which, like when we went over with when it gave us a description of the Lord, like there's only one group of people who is known for having woolly hair. And that's so-called African Americans or Negroes today. It's not no African, saying their hair is rough like sandpaper. And saying our oppressor most certainly does not have woolly hair. No matter how much it is, he'll try to lie to you and say so. I remember my mother tried telling me that she had woolly hair when I first brought this scripture out as, I was either a young man or an officer of 50, which is just utterly ridiculous. You understand? White people, or like our oppressors, people, they got, stringy dog hair. And saying is nothing close to what Christ's actual hair was like. So that also just goes to show that image it is that they paint it, as being Christ, it's simply not true. And the sad thing is that Christianity has our people so brainwashed that every single week it is that we bring out this scripture right here to our people, it's always just brushed off. You know what I'm saying? Like what the scriptures say don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? That the false image it is that we've been given through slavery and through years of oppression and through years and generations of lies, that's the wholehearted truth, and nothing can compare to it. You understand? When what should matter most of all is what's in these scriptures right here. You understand? With our people just hearing how Christ had white woolly hair, that alone should cause for our people to flock from the Christian church, from the Catholic Church, and for us to push them out of our communities and to bring in the real priests and prophets who showed our people the truth, which is the Isupk under commanding John YAHANNA. So because without us, I mean, I would say our people would just be, believing in a lie. But even now, so many of our people come against this truth and happily believe in a lie, because it's just insanity. And his eyes were as a flame of fire. Verse 15, and his feet like unto fine brass. And saying, you look up, it's lucky. Verse 15, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. And saying, you go look up burnt brass, and you're going to find out that it is an extremely dark brown. And saying, so it's letting us know that Christ's feet was a very, very dark brown. And naturally, if somebody's feet is one color, that means the rest of their body is going to match. And if you have some kind of common sense, and but which with the teachings of Christianity, our people will try to say that Christ's feet, he was just dirty. You see, and all through all of them days of walking, barefoot or in sandals, it just accumulated too much dirt for him. But yet we just read how it is that he had a golden war belt, showing that he was not no poor man that couldn't afford shoes or sandals or to wash his damn feet. And so we try to come up with any kind of excuse in order to let our King Yahushua, and the man who went through hell and made the sacrifice only for us, for the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? We will let that sacrifice be for nothing. Also, we can find a way to make our king a white man. Also, we can make him an oppressor, because we've been taught to be slaves for so goddamn long that it's just unfathomable to really see ourselves in a better light. You're saying, because if Christ was a black man, you understand, the greatest man on this earth who sacrificed himself for our people, if he was a black man who could do that, you understand, that means we got to start looking at ourselves differently. You understand? Maybe we could live up to the expectations of Christ, since he was just like us. And his voice is the sound of many waters. It's like we're going to drop that. We're going to go to Revelations chapter 2, verse 18. Saying, because I'm sure there's some Christians out there that'll say, oh, well, those words weren't in red, so we can't believe everything that the scriptures say because they didn't come out of Christ's mouth. So this is the book of Revelations, chapter 2, verse 18. And unto the angel of the church in Thyatira write, these things saith the Son of God, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire. And his feet are like fine brass. It says this is Christ himself saying that, that he is a black man. It's saying, let you know that his feet are like the color of fine brass. And like we just went over before, if your feet are one color, your body is going to match. And saying your feet aren't going to be brown and then the rest of your body be white, or whatever other colors people want to make our king. Saying he was of the tribe of Judah, which we all know is so-called Negroes, which we'll also be getting into here in a little bit, Lord allow. So we're going to go to Daniel chapter 5. Go to Daniel chapter 5. Or chapter 10, verse 5. Give you a minute to get there. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 5. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen. And so this is another vision of Christ right here. It's letting you know that he's clothed in linen, which back then was, really today, still considered a fine fabric. That cost you a good bit of money to acquire. So I'm letting you know that Christ was in the freshest of material, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. Verse 6, his body also was like the beryl. And what's talking about right here is talking about Christ's garment. You understand? He had a green garment on. Because, of course, we know there's nobody that is green in the earth. You understand? Christ is not, who's that cat? Martian Manhunter. You understand? And his face as the appearance of lightning. You understand? Christ wasn't or isn't portrayed as being that soft-eyed Cesar Borgia that the Christian church portrays him as. You understand? He had a face as the appearance of lightning. I mean, he had a fierce look on his face. Saying, when you go up to any brother in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and we'll have that same look on our faces. And his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. And saying, so we already went over that that brass is like a brown color. You understand? But when it says polished brass, that just means that Christ he had a bit of shine to him. You understand? Which I'm sure plenty of sisters can relate to when they put on all they beauty products and their skincare regimen and all that, and they start shining. You understand? That's how Christ was looking. You understand? He had that glow to him. And the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. I'm going to drop that. Go to Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5 to 7. And so the voice of the multitude, it's just letting you know Christ wasn't no soft-spoken, sissy asking why we all can't get along and join hand in hand. So we learn the color of the Most High. You're saying as well as characteristics of or slacking features, and we learn the same thing about Christ as well, or Yahawashi. And showing that those images, it is that the Christian church has portrayed of them as being nothing but lies and not scripturally accurate. I'll give you another minute to get to Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5. This is Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5. Also, out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. So we're about to get into the appearance of what the Lord's angels actually look like. Because not only is the Lord portrayed as being an oppressor in the Christian church, you understand, Christ is portrayed as being an oppressor in the Christian church. The angels are portrayed as being, oppressor babies flying around in diapers in the Christian church. The Lord's chosen people are apparently oppressors as well. You let them tell it, you understand? But when we get in these scriptures, we'll find out the truth of what the Lord's people actually look like. So we're going to get into what the Lord's angels actually look like. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. You understand? So they look like they just be, your average man, your average Joe. Verse 6, and every one had 4 faces. Yeah, when you get closer to them, you realize that the angels, they actually have 4 faces. You understand? It's not some Charmin ultra soft baby face that's as pale as, I don't know, milk. You understand? And every one had 4 wings. Saying these creatures, not only do they have 4 faces, you understand, 4 different faces, but they also had 4 wings, which that's not how the Christian church portrays the angels as looking. You understand? They just have, their little bird wings with 1 face. You understand? One welcoming face to let you know you're in the greatest place ever when you go up to heaven, which it's all just a lie. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. So think of, what are those called? Not minotaurs. It's like, you know what those half a goat people are called? Oh, that's a minotaur? Oh, well, think of like the feet of a minotaur. You understand? So it's like everything from the legs up, it's like a man, but the feet, it's straight like a minotaur, as you could say. And they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. I'm saying that right there is the color of the Lord's angels, which of course is not how Christianity depicts the angels. So we got to really start looking at the Christian church and asking them, why is it that you teach the complete opposite of these scriptures? Like, why have we been told for generations that really everything about this book is white, when in reality the Lord was a black man, Yahweh Christ was a black man, the angels are black men. And we'll soon find out that the Lord's chosen people are black. You understand? Or brown, to be more specific. We're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. Give you a minute to get there. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just enough for us to teach our people, you know, saying these breakdowns as the true priests and prophets, but our people have to also start, you know, truly accepting what it is that's in these scriptures. So you tell a lot of our people, they'll just take it and, you know, brush it off like they were never told, and, you know, go on, continue living a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta really start taking these scriptures seriously if we want to stop being, you know, slaves in America, if we want to stop being oppressed in this disgusting country, and actually come back to our heritage as a nation. So there are plenty of you know, Egyptologists or chematology, African spirituality cats that know that the Israelites are black, you understand, and or brown, Slovakia, you understand, and that know that their forefathers fit the curses in Deuteronomy, and know that the slaves that came over here, some of them had Hebrew names and kept Israelite customs and traditions, but yet because our people are just so in love with the heathen, you know, we just brush all that off and act like, you know, it's a lie when it's 100% the truth. And saying it's the only truth that our people will ever get. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 2. Judah mourneth. Saying Judah is so-called African Americans or Negroes. Understand why is it that Judah is in mourning? And so you can you know, just turn on the news and you can find out why it is that Judah mourneth. You understand? There was a whole you know, riots all across the United States about what it is that's happening to Judah. And so even though you know, it's primarily devils who were starting fires and starting the robbery of devils, it's like devil establishments. You understand, with the murder that happened with that brother George Floyd, like that really caused for our people to open their eyes and realize just how oppressed we are as a nation inside the land of America. Is that even after the sacrifice it is that our people made during this civil rights movement, you understand, all the dogs it is that we had sicked on us, and the water hoses that we got hit with, you understand, the beatings it is that we face at the hand of police, so it is that we could be equal or supposedly equal in this empire. Like it's all been a lie, and it's been a lie that we've, you know, accepted up until this day. You understand? But our people realized once that brother was, you know, just so ruthlessly murdered, you know, we realized that we are truly not accepted in these lands. You understand? And the chokings haven't stopped. You understand? The police brutality and murders have not stopped. You understand? There are plenty of brothers and sisters who have buried their loved ones even today, you understand, after that murder. You understand, who mourn for those who had to, you know, sadly perish, all because we've been following, you know, Christian pastors for so very long. You understand, Christian pastors should have showed our people that we are the 12 tribes of Israel, and should have been trying to get us to come together closer as a community and as a nation. But they've just been worrying about themselves and worrying about stuffing their pockets while our people suffer out here in the land of America and get murdered in the streets by our oppressor. You understand? And get murdered by these heathen nations. And the gates thereof languish. Understand? The gates represent protection. You understand? We have no protection as a people. I mean, we already know we can't turn to our religious leaders. All they're going to do is try to calm us down, pacify us, so that it is that we will forgive our oppressor or some heathen that tries to afflict our people. And saying they don't really seek justice or seek to protect our communities or our people. Saying that all they care about is themselves. And saying which it's like you tune into the Tuesday, mandatory class for Indianapolis. Saying Captain of 10,000 Kapash does an amazing job on bringing out all the horrendous things and negligent duties it is that these Christian pastors are doing out here for our people. Saying we can't turn to our religious leaders, and saying we can't turn to celebrities to help us out, which our people sadly think that because someone has money that they're fit to lead our people. Saying which that's simply not the case. Saying celebrities, all they do is they care about themselves as well, just like Christian pastors. Saying they aren't worried about protecting the Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous community. The only time they're worried about speaking up about our problems is if it's something that's affecting them. And saying that's the only time it is that they choose to truly speak up and try to make a stand. Saying it's very, very few far in between instances where someone is actually sticking up because they care for our people. Saying and just to backtrack a little bit, for the Judah mourneth, you understand, like that's also how you know that the Jewish man is not the real Jew. You understand, because he's not in any kind of mourning. You understand, he mourned for, what was that, about 9 years, 10 years, something like that, during World War II, and all because he went through a little Holocaust, which was a terrible thing. Saying don't get us wrong. We're not saying it wasn't something unimportant, but that little 9 years, that's nothing compared to the scope of these scriptures. Saying the Lord said that we'd be cursed as a people if we didn't keep his commandments. But yet the Jewish man, he's having gay pride rallies over what he calls the nation of Israel. You understand? He's participating in incest over in the nation of Israel. You understand? Child molestation, sucking on baby penises, giving them herpes. You understand? Being the biggest drug addict that there possibly is. Just doing all kinds of horrendous things, but yet he's not in any kind of mourning as a people. Like the Jewish man, he's set in the land of America. He's set over in his own land. No matter where it is that he goes, he's ultimately protected. And the gates thereof languish. You understand? And he has all kinds of protection. You understand? He has his own military. He set up legislation in different countries in order to benefit his people and to ensure that there can be no kind of hate crime committed against his nation. There is no lack of protection for this beast. You understand? That's only for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You see, and nobody else. They are black onto the ground. You understand? The tribe of Judah is black onto the ground. Not only is that talking about the condition of the tribe of Judah, you understand, which you can go into any ghetto throughout America and you'll see exactly the low state it is that our people are living in today, and that we've been living in, throughout this captivity in America, and throughout the captivity of the Romans and Greeks and all these other nations. Like, we've always been at the lowest state in these empires, and saying which no other nations can claim that. And every other nation, they've been able to rise up past their poverty and whatever so-called oppression it is that they go through, and they're able to become a mighty nation. Yet when it comes to the tribe of Judah, so-called Negroes, saying we're always going to remain, at a very low state, as long as we don't keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, and repent and to follow our King like we're supposed to. So not only is it talking about the condition of the tribe of Judah, but it's also talking about their complexion. Because there are multiple, it's like various shades of brown. And the cry of Jerusalem has gone up. We're going to drop that. Go to Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. So Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black, but comely. So this is King Solomon speaking. You understand, the wisest man who has ever been on this earth. And he said himself that he is black but beautiful, which there's only one group of people who ever says that. That's the so-called Negroes or African Americans. And there ain't no, just imagine a Jewish man saying that he's black but beautiful. You understand? A brother or sister would look at him absolutely sideways and ask him what in the hell is he talking about. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. And that's King Solomon saying just how black he is. He's saying that as black as the tents of Kedar, and as black as the curtains of Solomon. You understand? Even with him being that dark, you understand? He still said that he's beautiful. Which, if our people really got into these scriptures, like we could really, we could really improve how it is that we view ourselves as a nation. You understand? With the description of the Lord's, hair, and with the description of Christ's skin, it's like, let me. So like when it says that the Lord's hair was as pure wool, and when it says Christ's skin is as the fine brass, like the quality that it's describing, saying these different things, like that really have us look at ourselves as a people in a more positive light. You're saying, because in America, like, we've been taught to utterly hate how it is that we look as a nation. Like that's why so many brothers and sisters go out and, bleach their skin. You understand? Put relaxers in their hair to make it straight. You understand? Dye their hair blonde, or try to only solely wear, blonde weave, so that they don't have to see, that woolly hair. Like all these different things that America teaches us to hate about ourselves. Like we should really be, looking at these things and saying how much it is that, we truly love them. You understand? Because we look like, how the Lord and our King Yahushua looks. You understand? They got that dark skin. They got that nice, woolly hair. And so that's something that is that we should look up to as a people. I'm going to drop that, go to Acts 13:1. I'm going to just get this real quick. I'm going to end it out. This is the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger. And so these prophets and teachers, they were called Niger, which is Latin for black. That's where the word nigger comes from, which means black. Nigga, which means black. Which goes to show that the messengers of the Lord, were black men. And I'm sure that the Christians will try to argue and say, said certain prophets and teachers were called Niger to try to make it seem like, that was just those two individuals, and there were plenty of prophets that were of multiple colors and backgrounds and all that. He's saying, this is Deuteronomy 18:18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren. Yes, and this is the Lord talking to the children of Israel, letting our people know that he'd raise up a prophet from amongst our nation, from amongst our people. You understand? He want to send us no prophet from, the Arabs, from the Chinese, the Japanese, the Africans, our oppressor. You understand? He's going to pick a prophet from amongst his chosen people, his chosen seed, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. Like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. You understand? That's just to simply let our people know that there's never been, a prophet of, that was chosen of another nation. You understand? The prophets have always been out of, the nation of Israel. With that said, I'm going to get into the security announcements. ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After this 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21. The book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 to 10, means tenth in the Hebrew, Ma'ashara, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. It's a free will offering for priests, and it's not mandatory. It's whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations, which is the Feast of Purim, which is February 14th to the 15th. And it'll be at 3532 North Keystone Avenue, or you can just Google ISUPK Indianapolis, and you can call the number that is on our Google My Business or website to get any further details, to figure out, what it is you got to bring, if you have to bring anything, who's accepted at our high holy days, which is only Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and a war star. With that said, I'm Magyum, which means to stand. Wapanya Haki Dum, which means to turn and face the east. Going to do the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawu, Shabashaman, Kodash, Haya, Shimka, Yahweh, Malakuska, Tabaat, Ratazayaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'a Rataza, Kawor, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathan, Yanawa, Lakam, Ka, Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kawawakanawa, Kasalakanawa, Kawawathiyanawa, Wala'a, Tabayayanawa, Banasaya 1, Abal, Hawashayanawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watapara, the Alalamyam, Aman. The Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. The prayer for the blessings in the Hebrew. Barak atah Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wam yaka'ala, wa ala'ayim, matazab yah, alawap YAHANNA, ha-alawapium, hazaranyum, ha-kwatazayanyum, ha-kayayayum, wa-akwathium, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, the Waraman. Perfect blessings in the English. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahushua, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General YAHANNA, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua. Listen to us now. Right now, send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel that refuse to give to the school. Force their riches to enter into thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the Edomites and the nations and their drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Islam, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, skinheads, Posse Comitatus, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space programs, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airwaves, the cable access channels and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Cause them to go to and fro through the earth and consume them. Let the plagues shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahushua, Michael, and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that it is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media, throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. Always. So be it. Sorry, which means to turn. Sorry. Shabia, which means to be seated for the sisters. We'll give a salute to the brothers, men of Israel. Amadim Shabbat. Amadim Barak. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakathum. Yadim Matah. Sisters Amadim. Give us a salute to the sisters, men of Israel. Amadim Shabbat. Amadim Barak. Yahweh Shamar al Thumb by Hashem Yahushua. Yadim Matah. Class dismissed.